a large part of his campaign is America has lost respect in the world. America is the laughing stock of every country in the world, of every thinking person in the world. It's a humiliation. It's a disaster. It's a disgrace. It's, the reputation of America's gone. Uh, no countries would trust them ever again with national secrets, with security. Nobody wants to work with them. Nobody wants to trade with them. So you want to have your America first, your own little fortress in there? Fine, you can have it. But the world is not cooperating with you. The world is not going along.
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar on the maple leaves. We got the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Canadian Drain. And today we have our very special guest with us. Nick Majors from Beyond America, Canada Looking South is with us today. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel and your background and why you're doing all of this?
Hi, Laura. How are you? I just want to tell you it's a real pleasure being here today. I have a lot of respect for Political Drain. And one of the reasons is you and Doug seem to understand how serious the problem that we're all facing in Canada and the United States. And too many people aren't reacting strongly enough, I don't think. They're just kind of passive, saying, oh, well, and just move on, wait for the next election. We haven't got time to wait for the next election. That's why I started this channel a few months ago, and that's why I make videos, and that's why I'm talking to people all the time. And as much as Trump is literally destroying civilization and America as we know it, we have our own threats up here in Canada. I mean, the reality of it is Pierre Poilievre, who until a couple of months ago was predestined to be the next prime minister with a majority, is extremely Trump-like. If anything, he would make Elon Musk and his Doge look like small time. I mean, he's pretty radical. So we've got to fight it, and we've got to do what we can. Whether we're 20 years old or 70 years old, it's time to speak up and make our voices heard. And that's what this is all about.
Right, and I think these voices are being heard. The Elbows Up rallies that Charlie Angus and others have been organizing around the country, and we've never seen anything like this. Never. At least.
Yeah. Yeah, Canadians have reacted not wonderfully. It's a wartime situation for us. It really is. We're having our sovereignty threatened. And there are people in the States on Trump's administration saying, oh, you're overreacting. He's just talking. No, Donald Trump has implied and stated openly that Canada is going to be the 51st state, that he thinks it makes sense. He thinks the border is an imaginary line that makes no sense whatsoever, and he's going to accomplish it. So, yeah, we feel threatened and we have our elbows up. It's become kind of a battle cry for Canadians. It's a line from hockey about being ready to throw a punch, getting your elbows up and hitting them with your elbow. And we're fighting. We're fighting really hard to keep ourselves sane, to keep our sovereignty, and to stop Trump and to stop the spread of Trumpism into our own country.
Exactly. Yeah. We are fortunate that we don't have the same kind of propaganda level news channels like Fox and OAN and all of those that have really taken over our neighbors' mindset. I mean, it's just amazing. And the Maple MAGA types are trying to do the same thing. They're echoing those talking points. They're echoing Russian talking points. And this is all mainly in Alberta and other parts of Western Canada, but the East Coast is still very much liberal, and I think BC is waking up too. Leadership race now having ended, and we have our interim Prime Minister Carney. He's been pretty strong with his response. Instead of making his first trip to the U.S., he's instead gone over to Europe as his first visit, and then met with King Charles and spoke from 10 Downing Street very strongly about his stance on Canadian sovereignty, tariffs, the Ukraine war, our allies, with what is the coalition of the willing, all of the countries. He got together with them too. And he said he wouldn't speak to Trump until this talk of annexation ended. But today he did speak with them.
They spoke today. And you know what? I consider this 1-0 for Carney over Trump. Interesting point. It's the first time that Trump referred to him as Prime Minister Carney, not as Governor Carney. Okay? You know, I mean, it was just last night that Trump came out with this terrible thing on Truth Social about, you know, if Canada defends itself, sorry, if Canada imposes tariffs on the United States, which would be reciprocal, of course, we're reacting to his, then he will hit us with even stronger ones because Canada and Europe are such great friends of the long best friends of the United States. Give me a break. Trump has made it clear since the beginning of the year that he wants an aggressive stand against Canada. He wants to harm Canada. He wants to hurt our economy, get us to bend down so that he can basically take us over, annex us into the 51st state, and we'll have nothing to do with it. But that meeting today was really interesting because, you know, just last night, Carney made a speech clearly stating our relationship with the U.S. is over. It's changed. It will never be the same. So that was the backdrop to this conversation. And Trump comes out of the meeting saying, well, you know, Prime Minister Carney and I had a productive discussion. So I don't know what happened. Actually, you want to give me, you know, let me give you a pet theory, okay? Trump has spent his entire life groveling to bankers as he's bankrupted one business after another, okay? He just goes hand in hand with a little cup. Please, please, can I get a loan? He'll lie to them. He'll do anything to them in order to defraud them to try to get money from them. Because without bankers supporting him, he's got nothing. Anyway, I think he's terrified because Carney's a banker and he's afraid of bankers. Psychologically in the background, I think that's a factor that's going on here.
I think you're right. I think you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Wasn't Trump going on about that Canada wasn't letting American banks do business here or something crazy?
Yeah. You know, we regulate all banks, whether they're Canadian or whether they're American. We have regulations that they don't have in the United States. It's the reason we have one of the most solid financial systems on the planet Earth of any country, because we have reasonably strong and strict regulations of our banks. And yes, if an American bank wants to come here, and there are several of them operating here, they're welcome to, so long as they live up to and follow all the conditions and standards that we have set for our banks. And as I said, a number of them do.
Well, you know, I think that you're very right. I mean, it's always down to money with him and power, and Carney has shown his power, as I said, and with this newly purchased defense system from Australia that we got first before.
Yes.
I forget what it stands for now. JOR, is it JORN or JORD? Do you know anything about it?
I'm not good with acronyms, no.
I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's basically a very, very high-tech new detection system for missiles or something.
Yeah. You see, basically, Canada and the United States have basically had a friendship and a partnership. We've been allies for generations, and it's benefited both of us. And Trump has suddenly started to paint it that we are supporting Canada. You know, Canada would be nothing without us. We're not going to any longer, continue to support them. And his following is buying that. I have people commenting on my videos all the time. It's about time you paid your shares. And that's insane. The trade agreements we've had have been negotiated all over the years. Trump himself signed a new free trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. He negotiated it and said that it was the greatest trade deal in history. And now he's saying we're taking advantage of him. Everything that's going on has been that way.
Yeah. But I think he's getting nervous because he sees that we are canceling our contracts to buy
Yes.
other equipment. I mean, he's out there talking out loud about we're selling them dumbed down versions of stuff, and people are talking about this kill switch that's built into jets. Why would we want that? I mean, we're obliged to take, I think, 6 jets by the middle of the year or something. But after that,
Yes.
no more. And I too, whether will Canada stand up and refuse to let Trump in for the G7 over his being a felon and all?
Yeah, I don't think they can go that far. But I'll tell you this much: you want to see protests? Let Trump try to come to Canada.
Yeah,
Okay, there will not be hundreds. There will be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I'll be there. Everybody I know will be there. No matter where in Canada it is, we'll be there.
right. I'm thinking of organizing an elbows up here, but maybe I'll save it for June.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else have I got on my list here?
It's also interesting that in the meeting that the phone call that Carney and Trump had today, that Trump in his debriefing of it talked about we're going to have further meetings after the elections, just assuming that Carney is going to be elected, which must make Polyev feel great.
Oh, for sure. But I'm wondering who called who, because Carney said they wouldn't talk until this annexation stuff stopped. So I'm wondering if Carney called or if Trump called. And
I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. Based on the comments both of them made yesterday, I wouldn't have thought either one of them wanted to talk right now. They didn't seem to be getting along at all.
me too. And then Carney came out and spoke about it at a press briefing just about an hour ago, but he didn't really say much about it either. And now Polyev, let's get on to him. Now he's off on the trail now for the election. He was in BC, but he didn't address the tariffs directly at all. He talked.
Pierre Polyev is running to the middle like a madman. Like a madman. He's denying everything he's ever stood for and believed and wanted to do in his life. You know, he realizes that he's about to lose an election, or he's on his way to losing an election. You know, from my perspective, if Polyev loses this election, his career is finished, and I'm ready to help retire Pierre. And that's all there is to it, okay? Pierre is a anarcho-capitalist. He calls himself a libertarian, okay? He isn't really, but he claims to be. He's read Milton Friedman, a free market economist. He's an advocate of Ayn Rand and her rugged individual philosophy. These are his lifetime goals since high school. He has admired these people, and he's made it really clear that he believes the path to a country, to a successful government, is through those methods. And those methods include some very extreme measures, including privatizing the whole healthcare system, privatizing pensions, okay, doing away with all forms of social assistance and leaving it to voluntary charities. He also believes in extreme deregulation of industry, slashing regulations, slashing controls. He doesn't want to see a Canadian dollar any longer. He thinks the Canadian dollar should be replaced with cyber currency. I mean, it's just with Bitcoin. It's insane. You know, but he believes that the market can do that. He believes that business and free market can solve all of our problems with no regulation, no controls. And I have to tell you, in my life, I've been all over the political map. You know, I've spent time with conservatives, I've spent time with liberals, spent a lot of time with NDPers. And because I have a business background, a lot of people have assumed that I would be a conservative, and I've tended that way. But I've observed in my lifetime, business is truly dog eat dog. All they care about is profit, and they really do not care. Look at the mistakes businesses make. Look at the nightmares and the disasters that they've always had. You cannot trust business whose sole purpose is to make a profit. They will compromise, they will cut corners, they will endanger people's lives, endanger their safety. They got to be some reasonable controls and guardrails set up to make sure that they're operating as good corporate citizens, because otherwise it's a nightmare. I do not want to live my life at the mercy of ABC Corporation or whatever the company might be.
Acme with the anvil dropping on our heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what else has he been up to, old PP Pipsqueak? Well, he's talking about the carbon stuff still. Like he lost that line of attack immediately when Carney said, "Oh no, I'm scrapping the tax."
He's trying desperately to find something to hang, to drag down Carney. His latest commercial shows him in handcuffs. They're trying to say that he's a criminal because he basically, running his company, they basically use tax limitation methods, okay? The same ones used by corporations all over the world. He did that as a private citizen. He has lived up to all the conditions of revealing his financial holdings, what he's done, what he hasn't. But Polyev is desperately trying to find something that he can smear him with. And, they started out with this, he's an illegitimate prime minister. Okay. Wrong. Okay. We have a parliamentary system in Canada. And in our parliamentary system, the prime minister of the country is the leader of the party who has the most seats. Whether that person has a seat in parliament or not doesn't matter. They are the prime minister. And there have been cases previously in history where prime ministers have not had a seat in the House of Commons. So, this whole thing of it's undemocratic, what is he talking about? And where does he get this from? He makes it up, just makes it up as he goes along.
Yeah, because we don't vote for a prime minister. We vote for the party. And so, yeah, he's, like I said, just completely using the MAGA American talking points. He's not talking to Canadians, or not the kind of Canadians that know better anyway.
Well, for all this denial, him saying that he's not like Trump and all that, his campaign style is completely like Trump. His motto is Canada First. Does that sound familiar to America First? And he continues with that. Canada first, Canada first, Canada first, America first, America first. Come on. The similarities are insane. I mean, you and I have talked offline about Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that she is a secret envoy for Pierre Poilievre to Trump world. She basically has asked them, and there are documented discussions of her basically suggesting to Trump insiders, why don't you hold back, because it will help Pierre Poilievre get elected, and you guys will be much happier with Poilievre in power than with Carney or anybody else. So she's down there pitching away Poilievre's interests, trying to get them to work with him. And I really think that's why Trump came out basically and, gave this, I won't even say endorsed. Poilievre keeps saying Trump endorsed Carney. Therefore, he must be on his side. To tell you the truth, if you listen to what Trump said, he actually said, doesn't make a difference to me. In some ways, I prefer if the liberals win. They'll be easier to deal with. That's hardly an endorsement, but that's enough for Poilievre to start a smear campaign, an ugly hate campaign he just continues to lie. Does it all the time without batting an eyelash. Pierre Poilievre will do anything, absolutely anything, to get elected. His goal since high school has been to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and he's bound and determined to do that.
That's exactly why he should never be the Prime Minister of Canada.
Career politician. He's never had a job in his life other than being in politics.
Wearing Rolex watches, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I mean, let's face it, he won't even tell us what's in his background. Forget finances, what's happened and where he gets his money from, which nobody seems to know. He will not submit to a security clearance. As the Prime Minister of Canada, you need to have a security clearance, and he will not submit to it. So what's he hiding? What's behind it? It's a simple process. I've been through a security clearance because in my business, we used to deal with the Department of Defense with computer hard disk drives that held national secrets. So I had to go through a security clearance. It is a relatively routine thing. He makes it sound like it's the hugest invasion of his privacy and they're trying to destroy his life. Give me a break. Every member of parliament has had, or half the members of parliament have had security checks done on them, but Pierre Poilievre refuses to submit to one.
Hey, do you have any guesses why?
No. There's something there that he doesn't want them. He doesn't want the public to, he doesn't want the government to know.
Was it his brother-in-law who's in jail or was in jail for something, or was that another conservative?
Well, I don't think security clearances are all that concerned about relatives who have been in trouble either. I mean, they're not about that. This is not saying you're a great, upstanding person and everybody you've ever known has been great. They're basically trying to find out, do you have anything that compromises you, that makes you a threat, that means you will not be honest and you might perhaps, deviate from honesty. And that's all they're trying to figure out is, what connections do you have? So it makes you suspect, what connections does he have to foreign powers, to corporations that he's afraid to tell the world about,
Most
that
important.
they would find out in a security check.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to mention too about Danielle. She's not just going down there as sort of his unofficial. She attended an event in Florida with what's that kid's name?
Ben Shapiro.
Shapiro Breitbart, and it was a $1,500 a plate fundraiser.
Yeah.
Who paid for the trip down there? Who paid for this fundraiser?
The Alberta government, the Alberta taxpayers are paying that bill. And, it's amazing. She's appointed herself, as a mini czar, okay, as, her and, I can't, what's the name of the guy from Shark Tank? Who am I thinking of?
Oh,
Yeah, what a tragedy. Sorry to do that to you, okay? Anyway, the point of it all is, okay, right? They've just taken it upon themselves. And, she openly is saying Canada would be fine dealing with the United States. They're our great partners. We respect them. I'm sorry, you're not reading the mood of Canada in any way, shape, or form. Look, I did a video, basically about, do Canadians now hate Americans? And the truth is, generally speaking, we don't. But I got to tell you, there's an element creeping up there of anger, frustration, and hate. I mean, we all saw at the hockey game, the American national anthem booed. That was repeated just the other day at the Blue Jays opening game. They booed the American national anthem. And somebody posted a comment on my video where they said, now look, if a madman driver is heading at you trying to run you down, I'm not too concerned that his passengers may be nice guys. I'm getting the heck out of the way and I'm going to stop that car. And that seems to be the attitude of most Canadians. I know there's a lot of great Americans out there. I know they don't all support Trump. But America as a whole, I've got to tell you something. Trump is not losing support the way I would have thought. Look at what he's done in his first 2 months. And you know what? Yes, he's dropped in the polls in approval rating, but he's still above levels he was at in 2016. It just, people are accepting it. They're so worn out and tired, they're accepting it. And his MAGA crowd is just rah, 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 more. They are breaking the law. They're disrespecting court orders. I mean, it's gone to the point of insanity. Just pure insanity.
Saying the constitutional crisis, and it's a breakdown of the rule of law, and it is. He's absolutely destroying it. He's got little Muskrat in there, not just nibbling, but taking huge bites out of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
There's great backlash from a multitude of groups, but it shouldn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Hell. But as far as his support, I only see it going down more as the backlash and protests get larger and louder over the spring and summer. But
I wish there were larger protests. I wish that people could adopt the attitude of the 1960s, my generation. We took to the streets. We opposed. Governments only rule by consent of the governed. Yes, Trump was elected democratically. And yes, there are implications to elections. That said, democratically elected governments have been overthrown many, many times. If half of America just basically stopped, I'm not going to work, I'm not going shopping, I'm not doing anything. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, you make the government ungovernable. We've seen that in Egypt. We've seen it in France recently. We've seen it in countries all around the globe, democracies, where the government have stood up and said, I'm not going to take it anymore, and then make their voices heard. Forget a million-man march. There should be 5 million people in Washington on a weekend. 5 million. Just drown the city. And there are so many Americans opposed to Trump. Get out there and do it and show your displeasure. Show that you're not a pushover. You're not going to take it. Canadians are reacting that way. Come on, America. Get with it.
Well, like I said, it's starting and it'll grow, and I agree it should be everyone, everywhere, all the time, but it will grow. And especially as more bites are taken out of business over the tariffs and the travel, it's down 70%.
Yes.
More and more Canadian locations are being booked by visitors, both in Canada and from other places. And the gas prices are coming down, I hear.
Yes.
And we've got this. We're working on the trade with other people for not only goods and services, but like I said, with military equipment. We are going to be canceling contracts. Other countries are canceling contracts and looking elsewhere. We're looking at Japan and South Korea, I believe, for fighter jets now. I think I could be wrong in that. Maybe France and Italy for jets too. I forget where for ships, but we've been working on our naval fleet for a little while now, at least.
I want to make a point about Trump's tariffs for a minute.
Sure.
It's really relevant to understand this. First of all, tariffs as a tool, economists dismiss. They've been tried numerous times. They don't accomplish what they're trying to do, period. But aside from that, okay, the tariffs he's imposing are illegal. The president is not allowed to impose tariffs. And this has become a tactic of Trump. Declare a national emergency so you're allowed to do things. So only Congress can pass tariffs, and they would never do that. They just know how wrong it is and how harmful to the American economy it is. But Trump doesn't care about the American economy. He wants to hurt Canada. He wants to show he's a tough guy. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he is. So he declares a national emergency, and what he said was fentanyl and illegals crossing the border from Canada. And that's such a minor, non-existent problem. And by declaring a national emergency, he gets to impose emergency tariffs. He's doing that with the deportations now, too, declaring a national emergency when one doesn't exist. And he learned this tactic back in the days of fighting for the border when Congress wouldn't give him money to build more border wall. He declared a national emergency. Suddenly he's got in his brain, I just declare an emergency, make one up, whatever he wants to call it. And because of that, he gets dictatorial powers in effect in wartime. And we are still to see, but right now the fear is that the Supreme Court, his appointees, may well back him up on that.
Well, that's part of the other reason I'm thinking about the protests and all that is that he wants it to build. He's been trying to start a race war too. It's always been their plan. But I think he actually wants to ruin the economy, and so he can invoke something like the Martial Law or Insurrection Act, so that he can go off and do his war wherever it may be, Panama, Canada, Greenland, wherever his addled brain decides one day to the next. I truly believe that, because then he gets to stay in power as a wartime president.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah.
The American public is going to go along with that, nor the military. They're pissed now too with this signal fuck up. I mean, who the hell, what country is going to give them any information with that?
Yeah. It's just
mind blowing.
Trump, a large part of his campaign is America has lost respect in the world. America is the laughing stock of every country in the world, of every thinking person in the world. It's a humiliation. It's a disaster. It's a disgrace. The reputation of America's gone. No countries would trust them ever again with national secrets, with security. Nobody wants to work with them. Nobody wants to trade with them. So you want to have your America first, your own little fortress in there? Fine, you can have it. But the world is not cooperating with you. The world is not going along.
But wait.
Yeah.
Now he thinks he wants to be a part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
An associate member. He's suggesting that they join the Commonwealth as an associate member.
Because he gets along so well with his friends and allies. Okay, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know when he's supposed to meet with King Charles, but I heard something the other day too that Charles' health, he's got some health issues going on.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe Donald won't get to meet the king after all, and you can bet he's pissed that Carney did.
Yeah.
Had a few minutes left on this half of the Zoom, and we've covered almost all of the things I have written down. Anyway, we're doing good. Any last comments before we wrap this up?
No, you know, I'm 71 years old. I really didn't think I would ever be doing something like this on social media in my life. But you know, the things that have happened in the last 8 years, 10 years are changing the world forever. You know, I thought I'd seen it all. I thought I saw the fall of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall, COVID. But the rise of Trumpism and the advancement of MAGA and Trumpism in the last year, like just what we've seen recently, okay? People have to take a stand, no matter what it takes. And I admire anybody who's fighting it. I encourage others to. And as I said, I think that what you're doing at Political Drain is really important, and I support you guys and everything you're doing. And I advise all my subscribers to watch you guys as you tell people to watch us, because we got to work together. We've got to stand together and present a united front against the madness that's engulfing our universe. So, not much more to be said.
Well, as I said the last time we tried this, is that both you and my Canadian Drain sort of took off around the same time. I told Doug that I wanted to do something about Canada, and then that was just about a month before everything.
Yes, exactly. Well, again, Laura, it's been a real pleasure. Okay, and I really thank you for inviting me on your show, and I'd love to have you on my channel sometime too.
And yeah, this has been great. We'll certainly do it again soon on your channel or mine. Maybe with Doug, maybe with others. We'll see. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and I thank you for coming back again. And we'll see you soon. Elbows up.
Yeah, take care. Elbows up.
Stay tuned for more on Political Drain Canadian Edition.
Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.